The galaxy's border was quiet, the stars hung in the black sky like frozen lights. Unmoving and eternal, ships of the Galactic Patrol drifted slowly, their engines humming in low rhythm. Like a soft lullaby in the endless dark inside the command stations. Alien officers leaned back in their chairs, sipping warm drinks and chatting in lazy tones. It had been years since this sector had seen any real conflict. Reports always came back the same: no hostile activity, no strange signals, nothing to worry about. The commanders laughed among themselves. Certain that this peace would last forever, to them, humans were just another small species, loud in words, but small in power. The Earth fleets were far away, scattered and busy with their own problems. There was no reason to expect any trouble here, not in this calm part of the galaxy. Some officers even switched off parts of their scanners, saying there was no need to waste power when nothing ever happened. But peace in space is like still water, it hides danger beneath. The first sign came as a faint blip on the outer range scanner of Station Aurelia. At first, the operator didn't even look at it, thinking it was a drifting rock or a wandering comet. He marked it as unidentified debris and returned to his card game. But the blip did not move like a rock. It moved with purpose, its path straight and sharp. Minutes later, the reading grew stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat on the display. The operator frowned, leaning closer. The object was approaching faster than any civilian ship could travel. He tapped the console, running a deep scan. The system sent out a quiet ping through the void, asking for identification. No response came back, only silence. And then the shape became clearer on the holoscreen. It was a warship, not just any warship, but one with a design the galaxy had not seen in many years. Its hull was black as the deepest shadow, absorbing the starlight around it. Its profile was long and narrow, like a blade made for killing. The operator's hands shook. He knew the stories. Every officer had heard them. Whispered over drinks in the mess halls, stories of a human ship that had ended wars before they began, a ship that could slip past blockades, strike, and vanish like smoke. A ship that was believed to be gone forever, destroyed in a great battle near the Vega Rift. But here it was, alive, real. And coming straight toward them, the operator's voice trembled as he called the commander. "Sir, we have something on approach." The commander walked over with slow, annoyed steps, ready to scold the young officer for overreacting, but when his eyes landed on the screen, the color drained from his face. He stared at the silhouette in the scanner's glow. The name formed on his lips without him meaning to speak it. The Erebus. The room went silent. Even those who didn't believe in the stories felt the weight of the name. It was the most dangerous ship ever built by humans. Small in number, but unmatched in power. It had once stood against entire fleets and returned without a single mark. Its weapons were said to bend the laws of physics themselves, and its crew deathworlders were known to survive where no other species could. Most believed the Erebus was destroyed, lost to time and war, but now it was here, heading for their system, and no one knew why. The commander barked orders to send the signal to all patrol ships, but even as he spoke, he knew it was too late for a quiet response. The Erebus was not sneaking into the system, it was walking through the front door. Its engines burned bright now, no longer hiding its speed. The alien fleets on standby began to stir. Pilots ran to their cockpits. Alarms rang through corridors. But something about the movement of the Erebus made every stomach turn. It wasn't charging, it wasn't fleeing. It was gliding, slow and deliberate. Like a predator entering the hunting ground, in the mess halls of distant ships. The news spread fast. Some laughed nervously, saying it couldn't really be that ship. Others stayed silent. Eyes fixed on the growing image in the live feed, the hull had no visible weapons ready, no shields raised. But anyone who knew the stories understood, when the Erebus showed its weapons, the fight was already over. The commander of the sector leaned over the comms table, his voice low. "Whatever it's here for, it's not peace." And as the black shape of the human ship drew closer, the galaxy's most dangerous quiet began to break. The black silhouette of the Erebus was still far from the system's core. yet already its presence pressed on the minds of every commander, every pilot, every civilian who saw the incoming reports. It wasn't just a ship, it was a shadow from the past, a name spoken in whispers. A legend meant to scare young cadets into following orders. And the scariest part of the legend was that no one ever truly knew what the Erebus could do.
Ow.
In the quiet corners of the galaxy, in bars hidden on dusty trading moons, veterans told stories of how the ship had appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the Krath War. They spoke of how it had crossed enemy lines without being detected, disabling fleets without a single confirmed kill, yet somehow leaving the opposing side in total surrender. Some said it carried weapons that could bend space itself, crushing ships without firing a shot. Others claimed its crew could hack entire fleet systems from light years away, making enemy guns turn on their own ships. The details always changed depending on who told the tale. But one thing stayed the same. Every story ended with the same words. No one can stop the Erebus. For years, the galaxy had believed it gone. Some claimed the humans dismantled it, calling it too dangerous. Others believed it had been destroyed in a suicide mission near the Vega Rift, taking half a rebel armada. With it, the official Galactic archives listed it as lost in action. But no wreckage had ever been found. And now, after all these years, it was here again, moving like a black blade through space, silent but heavy with purpose. The alien admiral of the system. Vrektor sat in his high command chair, his scaled fingers tapping on the armrest. He had heard of the Erebus during his early training, but had dismissed it as human propaganda. Humans like to talk big, he told himself back then, but they were just Deathworlder stuff, yes, but limited now. Staring at the live scan, he felt an unwelcome sensation creep into his chest, uncertainty. He turned to his intelligence officer. "Confirm the ship's identity," he ordered. His voice low but tight, the officer swallowed, her frilled crest trembling. "Sir, there is no mistake. It matches every classified record we have." The room grew colder. Vrektor knew what this meant. If the stories were even half true, this single ship could disrupt their entire defense network. And the worst part, he had no idea what the humans wanted. Across the fleet, officers whispered to one another, "What if it's here to test our defenses? What if it's looking for someone? What if it's here to finish what it started years ago?" No one had answers, and the unknown was more terrifying than any known weapon. In the far reaches of the galaxy, the Erebus had become more than a warship. It was a psychological weapon. The humans didn't have the largest fleets or the most planets, but they had ships like this. Ships that made even the most confident alien commanders second-guess themselves. The galaxy called them ghost ships, but the humans had a different name for them: judgment ships. They only appeared when Earth wanted to make a point, and when they left. They never had to fire more than a few shots to make that point last for decades. Vrektor's mind raced as he tried to predict the human captain's next move. If they had come this far, they wanted to be seen. This was no stealth approach. They were sending a message just by being here. He thought of contacting the Galactic Council for reinforcements, but then he remembered the other part of the legend. The Erebus never waited. It struck when it chose to strike. By the time help arrived, the battle was already over. On the bridge of the Erebus, human captain Rian Hell stood in calm silence. His crew worked efficiently, eyes scanning data feeds, hands steady on the controls. To them, this was just another mission. They didn't talk about the fear they inspired. They didn't boast about past victories. The Erebus didn't need speeches, its presence spoke for itself. Hale watched the alien defense grid shifts nervously as the ship drew closer. "Let them see us," he said quietly. "Let them remember why we were built in the alien fleet." Ships began to form into defensive lines, their weapons powered up, targeting systems locked, but even from a distance, the captains could feel something was wrong. It wasn't the size of the Erebus, or its shape, it was the way it moved. It was deliberate, confident, as if every other ship was already in check before the first shot had even been fired. The whispers in the command centers grew louder. Some younger officers begged to fire first, to send a message of their own. But the older ones, the ones who had lived through the old wars, said nothing. They simply watched. Knowing deep down that firing first might be the last mistake they ever made, the Erebus continued forward, its black hole drinking in the light of the stars, and in that moment, Vrektor realized the truth behind the legend. It wasn't just the weapons, or the crew, or the ship's speed. It was the way the humans used fear like a blade, and right now, that blade was pointed straight at his heart. The first order came like a sharp crack across the comms. "All ships to battle readiness," Admiral Vrektor commanded, his voice firm but not calm. Across the sector, dozens of alien warships lit up with energy as weapons came online, shields hummed and engines roared. The quiet patrol formations broke apart into combat lines. Every captain scrambling to position their vessels between the intruder and the core worlds, but even with the sudden activity, there was an unspoken truth. Running through the fleet, no one believed numbers would make them safe. They had read the same records, heard the same stories. The Erebus was not famous because it outnumbered its enemies. It was feared because numbers meant nothing to it. From the bridge of the Erebus, Captain Rhiann Hale watched the defensive grid forming ahead. "They're rushing into position," he said quietly, his eyes narrowing. "That means they're nervous." His tactical officer, Lieutenant Mara Finn, smirked slightly. "Or they think they can stop us," she replied. Hale's gaze didn't shift from the Holidays play. "They know better," he said. "They just don't want to admit it yet," in the alien flagship. The bridge was alive with motion. Officers shouted, targeting coordinates. Sensor readings poured across screens, and pilots checked weapon status, but the nervous glances, the tight grips on console edges told the real story. This was not the confidence of a fleet ready for victory. This was the panic of one preparing for survival. The Erebus was still far enough away that no weapons could hit it, yet every alien captain felt as if it was already close enough to strike. The ship's movements were slow, unhurried, like a predator circling prey it already owned. It didn't weave or dodge. It didn't attempt to mask its energy signature. It wanted them to see it, to know exactly where it was. The confidence was suffocating. "Admiral, should we open fire?" As soon as it enters range, one young officer asked, his voice shaking despite trying to sound strong. Vrektor turned to him, his scaled brow lowering. "Do you want to be the one who provokes a legend?" The officer swallowed hard and said nothing more. Across the fleet, captains exchanged silent comms. Some argued for attacking before the human ship got too close. Others insisted they should hold fire, hoping maybe the Erebus was only passing through, but deep inside, everyone knew the truth. Ships like this never pass through without a reason. In the crew quarters of one alien destroyer, a group of engineers sat in tense silence. They had shut off their light conversation hours ago. Now they watched the live feed of the Erebus, its black hole cutting across the stars like a blade. "Across silk," one of them muttered under his breath. "It doesn't even look alive. It looks like a shadow." No one corrected him, because it was true. Meanwhile, human sensors picked up every shift in alien formation. Lieutenant Finn read the data calmly. "They're scared," she said. "Multiple ships have changed position. 3 times in the last 10 minutes. They don't know how to hold the line." Hale nodded slowly. "They're still hoping this ends without blood," he said. "But they also know we're not here for a friendly visit." In the alien flagship, Vrektor tried to steady his own breathing. The Erebus approach speed hadn't changed. It was steady, precise, inevitable. He imagined the human crew inside, calm, focused, efficient. It was said that the humans trained for years on their death world before ever stepping foot in space. If that was true, then fear was something they had already mastered. And now, they were using it as a weapon against him. The Admiral's communication officer spoke up. "Sir?" "Incoming encrypted signal from an unknown source urgin, the Erebus." Vrektor froze for a heartbeat, then gave a short nod. "Open." "It," he ordered. The bridge screens flickered, and a voice filled the aircom. Deep and utterly, without hesitation. "This is Captain Rhiann Hale of the human warship Erebus. We are entering your system with purpose. Stand down or be removed." The words were not shouted, not even harsh, but in their simplicity lay the threat. It was not a request, it was a final warning. The bridge went silent, except for the hum of systems. Drake Tor's second-in-command whispered. "They speak as if the outcome is already decided." The admiral didn't reply, because he knew she was right, and the seconds after the transmission, some alien captains bristled. "How dare they threaten us?" One barked overcomes. "They're just one ship," another added. But the older voices in the fleet answered with grim quiet. "One ship," they said, "is all they need." From the outside, the defensive lines looked strong. Dozens of ships armed and ready, but beneath the surface, discipline cracked like ice under strain. Some gunners overcharged their weapons early, risking burnouts. Pilots adjusted positions without orders. Officers issued conflicting commands. The fleet was unraveling, and the Erebus hadn't fired. A single shot on the human bridge. Captain Hale saw the signs clearly. "They're already breaking formation," he said softly. "Fear will do half our work for us." Lieutenant Finn gave a faint, knowing smile, and the other half. She asked. Hale's eyes stayed fixed on the display. "The other half," he said, "is why they'll never forget us?" The alien fleet continued to shift, nervously. The black shape of the Erebus kept coming, and for the first time in years, Admiral Vraktor understood what true vulnerability felt like. The Erebus slowed as it neared the alien defensive line. It did not drift off course. It did not circle for advantage. It came straight in and then stopped just outside maximum weapons range. The alien fleet held position, dozens of targeting systems locking onto the black shape. Every captain's finger hovering over the command to fire, yet no one did. Something in the air, even across the void, told them that firing first would be a mistake they could not take back. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Admiral Vraktor stood tall, but his tail twitched with restrained tension. "Maintain position," he ordered, his voice steady but his eyes fixed on the silhouette. Ahead, around him, officers whispered updates, weapon status ready. Shields at full power, engines primed for evasive maneuvers. They had never been so prepared, yet they had never felt so exposed. A sudden ping cut through the bridge's noise. The communications officer looked up, crest trembling. "Sir." "The Erebus is transmitting again." Vraktor nodded once, and the channel opened. The voice that came through was the same as before, calm, deep, without urgency. "This is Captain Rion Hale of the human warship Erebus. You know who we are. You know what we can do? We are here for one reason. Stand down, or be removed." The message ended. No elaboration, no threats of what would follow. It didn't need any. The silence after was heavier than any roar of battle. On multiple ships, crew members exchanged looks, their hands shaking slightly over controls. It was as if the humans had spoken directly into their minds, bypassing words entirely, leaving only the weight of certainty. Some captains in the alien fleet couldn't stand it. One voice crackled over the shared comm channel. "This is Captain Varen of the Ralthus Blade. You will turn back immediately, or be destroyed." Static filled the pause. The Erebus gave no reply, no shift in position, not even a flicker of weapons activation. It simply remained there, still and patient, as if measuring them from the human bridge. Lieutenant Mara Finn glanced at her captain. "They're baiting us to speak, or to fire first," she said. Hale's eyes didn't move from the tactical display. "And we won't," he replied. "The first move will be theirs, and it will be the wrong one, on the alien flagship." Tension clawed at discipline. Vraktor could see it in his officer's face, his restless, on edge, dangerously close to losing control. He knew one reckless shot from any ship could trigger the human response, and if the stories were true, that response would not be survivable. Out in the darkness, the Erebus emitted a faint ripple of energy. It wasn't an attack, just a low pulse that spread across the alien fleet's sensors. The readings came back strange. Shields flickered for a second, weapons momentarily lost lock, and communication relays rebooted on several ships. It was over in less than a breath, but the effect was enough. The aliens knew now that the humans were testing their systems, probing their weaknesses, without even crossing the firing line. "Sir, they touched our network," the alien chief engineer said in disbelief. "They didn't break it, but they could have." Vraktor's throat tightened. He had just been shown without a shot fired. how vulnerable they truly were. Then came the moment. One alien frigate young captain, eager to prove himself, opened fire, a stream of energy. Bolts lit up the void, streaking toward the Erebus. Every alien ship held its breath. The shots hit the black hole and vanished. Not into shields, not in explosions, just gone, as if the ship had absorbed them. Or perhaps they had never even existed on the Erebus. The hit barely registered on the crew's faces. "Mark that frigate," Hale ordered. One shot from the Erebus forward cannon lit up the void. The alien frigate didn't explode in fire. Simply disappeared from sensors. No debris, no escape pods, nothing left. Gasps filled alien bridges across the fleet. "One shot, one ship gone, stand down," Hale's voice came again over comms. "Or the next will be your flagship." The alien fleet froze. Even those who had been calling for an attack now stared at their consoles, the weight of choice pressing hard. It wasn't just that the Erebus could destroy them, it was that it could do so cleanly, without waste, without struggle. There was no chaos in the human threat, only control. In Vraktor's mind, the battle was already over. The question now was whether to survive it. He gave the silent hand signal to hold fire. Across the fleet, weapons powered down one by one. No one spoke, no one dared. The first contact had been made, and it was clear this was not going to be a fight. This was going to be a lesson. The alien fleet held its breath. Weapons had been powered down by most captains, but not all. One or two ships still hovered on the edge of defiance, their targeting systems tracking the Erebus with trembling precision. On every bridge, eyes flicked between their commanders and the black ship that hung in space like a predator, choosing its prey. Captain Rian Hale stood calm on the Erebus bridge. His crew worked in silence, each one a perfect cog in a machine that had been trained for years to move as one. He studied the alien formation for a long moment, then spoke a single word: "Mark." A pulse of energy ran through the Erebus, barely visible to the naked eye on alien sensors. However, the effect was instant. Targeting systems blinked out. Shield harmonics wavered, and engine readouts spiked before returning to normal. It was a message. The Erebus knew exactly where to hit them. Then it came. The first real strike. The main forward cannon fired once. The beam didn't blaze like typical weapons fire. It was almost quiet, almost clean. It touched the alien cruiser on the far left of the formation. In less than a second, the cruiser was not burning, not breaking apart, just gone. No debris, no escape pods. Only a fading distortion where it had been. Across the alien fleet, panic spread faster than any order could stop it. Voices erupted over comms, some shouting to retreat, others calling for full assault, but the captains couldn't agree, and while they argued, the Erebus fired again. Another ship vanished, on the alien flagship. Admiral Vraktor gripped the railing beside his command chair, his scaled knuckles pale. The stories had been true. This was not a normal weapon, it was something beyond their understanding. His tactical officer turned to him, eyes wide there. "Choosing targets," she said. "They're not firing randomly. They're cutting our strongest ships first, from the human bridge." Hale's voice was steady. "Take the destroyers on the left flank, one by one, slow pace." His crew followed. Without hesitation, each shot landed with surgical precision. Each enemy ship disappearing without a trace. It wasn't just destruction, it was domination. The Erebus wasn't wasting energy. It wasn't showing off, it was demonstrating control. Alien captains scrambled to respond, some breaking formation to flee. But the moment a ship turned its engines to retreat, the Erebus marked it, a flash of light, and it too was gone. It became clear to everyone the humans were allowing some to stay alive and removing only those who defied. In the mess halls and observation decks of the smaller alien ships, crew members stood frozen, watching the live feed. They had never seen war like this. There were no chaotic battles, no desperate exchanges of fire. It was silent execution. One moment a ship existed, the next it didn't, on the flagship. Vraktor finally gave the order no commander ever wanted to speak. "All ships cease fire, hold position, do not engage, repeat, do not engage." The order was sent fleet-wide. But not everyone heard it in time. One heavy battleship on the far right flank launched a spread of plasma torpedoes at the Erebus. Every eye turned to the human ship, waiting for shields to flare or armor to burn. Instead, the Erebus shifted slightly. The torpedoes vanished mid-flight as if erased from reality. Then, a moment later, the battleship was gone. Lieutenant Marafin glanced at the captain. "They'll break completely soon," she said. Hale nodded slowly. "That's the point," he replied. "We didn't come here to fight a battle. We came here to end the idea that they could stand against us." In the alien fleet, silence fell again. No one dared move. The Erebus stopped firing. Hanging there in space like it had all the time in the world, and yet the threat was heavier than ever. Every alien in that system knew the humans could wipe them all out in minutes. The only reason they were still alive was because the Erebus allowed it. Admiral Vroktor swallowed hard and opened a secure channel to the human ship. "This is Admiral Vroktor of the Igath Command Fleet," he said, his voice steady but low. "What is your purpose here?" For a long moment, there was only static. Then Captain Hale's voice returned. "To remind you," he said, "that Earth is not to be touched, not to be threatened, not to be underestimated. If you do, we will return, and next time, we will not stop halfway." The channel cut. On the Erebus bridge, Hale gave a single order. "Hold position for 60 seconds, then turn us around." The crew obeyed for that full minute. The human ship simply hovered there, letting the alien fleet stare at it, letting the weight of what had just happened settle deep into their minds. When the Erebus finally turned and began to move away, no one in the alien fleet followed. No one even spoke. The humans had struck first, and in doing so, they had ended the battle before it began. The alien fleet floated in frozen silence. Engines hummed quietly. Weapons stayed powered down. And no one dared to move without orders. The void between the ships felt heavier than ever, filled with the quiet knowledge of what they had just witnessed. In less than 10 minutes, the Erebus had dismantled the confidence of an entire defense network, and now it wasn't firing. It was simply waiting. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vroktor sat stiff in his command chair, his eyes fixed on the black warship on the main screen. Every instinct told him to keep still, not to provoke it. He had commanded fleets for decades, faced rebellions, skirmishes, and even full-scale invasions. But he had never faced an enemy that made the idea of resistance feel pointless. The Erebus wasn't moving away yet. It was holding position, letting the silence spread like a sickness through the alien ships. Crew members whispered to each other in low voices, asking why the humans hadn't finished them off. Some thought the humans were waiting for reinforcements. Others believed this was part of the terror, the waiting, the uncertainty. Then the comms flickered. The voice of Captain Rion Hale filled every alien bridge. "This is Captain Hale of the human warship Erebus," he began, his tone calm but sharp. "You have now seen what we are capable of." This was not a battle. It was a demonstration. On smaller alien ships, young officers stood frozen at their stations. The humans were not screaming, not taunting. They were speaking like someone delivering an unavoidable truth. "We came here because your fleets have been moving too close to our space," Alay continued. "Your scouts have crossed our lines. Your commanders have spoken of testing our defenses. This is your only warning. Earth will not be threatened, Vrake." Tor clenched his jaw as the words sank into the room. Hale's voice had a strange weight, not from volume, but from certainty. It was the kind of voice that didn't ask for agreement. It simply told you what reality was. The human captain paused. For a long moment, no one on the alien side dared to interrupt. Then his voice came again. "We could have erased your entire fleet today. We did not. That mercy will not be given a second time." On several alien bridges, crew members lowered their eyes. Unable to meet the gaze of their own commanders, the truth was too obvious. If the humans had chosen, they would already be dead. The Erebus hadn't spared them out of weakness. It had spared them to make the warning carry more weight. The transmission cut off, but the message stayed in the air like smoke that couldn't be cleared. No one rushed to speak. The fleet simply floated there, waiting for the next move from the black warship. On the Erebus, Hale watched the alien formation through the main display. "They're shaken," Lieutenant Marafin said quietly. They won't forget this. They're not supposed to, Hell replied. His eyes still locked on the enemy flagship. This wasn't for them. To forget it was for them to carry home, to tell their people, to make sure no one else comes knocking on our door. Admiral Tor finally broke the silence on his bridge. Hold position, he ordered. Do not pursue, do not engage. We are not here to win a fight today. We are here to survive it. No one argued, no one even shifted in their seats. The lesson had already been burned into them. The Erebus remained for one more minute. It didn't fire, it didn't move. It just existed in the center of every alien's vision. It was a silent reminder that they were alive only because the humans had decided they could be. Finally, the human warship began to turn. Its engines flared faintly, and it started to move away from the alien fleet. No ships followed. No one dared to track it. It slipped through the same path it had entered, its dark hull blending back into the void. But before it fully vanished from long-range sensors, one last transmission came through. This is the Erebus, Hale's voice said. Quieter now, but just as sharp. We will be watching. Then it was gone. The alien fleet remained still for several long minutes after, as if moving too soon might draw the predator back on every ship. The crew exchanged silent looks that carried the same thought. They had not just been defeated, they had been marked in the days to come. The story of the Erebus arrival would spread through every military channel. It would reach the high councils, the trade guilds, even the black markets, and everywhere it went. The message would stay the same. Do not provoke the humans. The black warship was gone. No trace on sensors, no faint energy trail. Nothing but empty space where it had once hung like a shadow over the fleet, yet its presence lingered. Every alien captain still felt it, like a weight pressed against their chest. They knew it was not truly gone. It had simply chosen to leave. On the alien flagship, Admiral Tor remained seated in his command chair. The bridge crew waited for new orders, but none came. No one wanted to be the first to speak. Finally, the communications officer broke the silence in a low voice. Sir, should we send pursuit units? The Admiral's answer came without hesitation. No, we will not follow it. We will not even look for it. We will report this. And then we will hold position until told otherwise. It wasn't just fire, it was survival instinct. Chasing a predator like the Erebus was not bravery. It was suicide. Every officer on that bridge understood, even if none of them wanted to admit it out loud, across the remaining ships. Crews began quiet damage reports. Not damage from battle, there had been no real battle, but damage to discipline. Gunners sat in silence, staring at powered-down weapons. Pilots kept their hands on controls even when told to stand down. Engineers whispered to one another about how icily the human ship had reached into their systems. They had not just been outgunned, they had been outmatched in every way. Far from the battlefield, in the secure halls of the Galactic Council, the news reached the high chamber. Representatives from dozens of worlds listened in tight-lipped silence as the recording played. They saw the Erebus, heard the calm human voice delivering its message. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others kept their eyes fixed on the floor. When the recording ended, the chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, one counselor spoke, his voice brittle. I thought the humans dismantled ships like that after the war. Another counselor, an older reptilian diplomat, shook his head slowly. No. They don't dismantle their predators. They put them away until they need them again. The debate that followed was short. No one wanted to provoke Earth. Not now. The official stance became clear: patrols would be pulled back from human borders. Trade routes near Earth's sector would be adjusted to avoid misunderstandings. And most importantly, no one would speak publicly about the Erebus. Let the galaxy think it was just a rumor again. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies of alien space, the story spread in a different way. Freighter crews told it in bars on dusty moons. Mercenaries told it around campfires in war camps, and smugglers told it in whispers in the dark corners of docking bays. With each retelling, the ship grew more dangerous in the story. Some said it could destroy fleets without firing a shot. Others claimed it could vanish and reappear anywhere in the galaxy. The truth was already being buried under legend. And that was exactly how the humans liked it on Earth. The Erebus returned quietly to its hidden port. There was no grand celebration. No public announcement. The crew disembarked like they had completed nothing more than a training mission. In the private debriefing, Captain Rion Hale gave his report with the same calm tone he had used in the enemy's comms. Objective completed. Message delivered. No further action required at this time. The room of senior human commanders nodded. They understood the nature of such missions. Victory wasn't in the destruction of the enemy, it was in the silence that followed back in alien space. Admiral Vrake Tor stood alone on the observation deck of his flagship. The stars stretched endlessly before him. He had commanded fleets for most of his life. He had won battles against forces larger and more advanced than his own, but this was different. The humans hadn't come to fight. They had come to remind him and the galaxy that some predators did not need to hunt often to remain feared. He thought of sending a personal report to the Council, warning them more strongly than the official statement allowed. But then he stopped. No, the less attention drawn to the Erebus, the better. If it stayed in the shadows, perhaps they would not see it again. The days turned to weeks. The alien fleet repaired its formation, resumed patrols, and pretended to return to normal, but the memory of that black ship never left. Every time a blip appeared on scanners, hearts quickened. Every time an unidentified signal was detected, crews checked twice, 3 times, and every time. When it turned out to be nothing, they breathed out relief. Somewhere out there, the Erebus was waiting. It might be in another system, watching. A different fleet. It might be docked in secret, its crew drinking coffee on Earth, or it might already be on its way back, unseen in the darkness. The galaxy didn't know, and that was the point. The silence after its departure was not peace. It was a warning, one that would echo for years. Do not test the humans, do not come near their borders, and never, ever forget that the most dangerous ship on Earth still sails.